me today. I've
I'm
really been looking forward to this interview. Would you mind just saying your name and your age for the listeners?
June Hill, and I am 43 years old.
June. Well, June, I know that when we spoke in your preliminary, we talked a lot about your family history with
Yes,
abuse, and
yes.
particularly starting in early childhood. And so I'm just going to start with like a broader question, and we'll start to narrow in as we go. But I'm going to just start with the question of, you know, uh, what are some of the earliest memories you have of your family, your parents being in that household? Um, do you
Um,
remember?
the first memory that I have is of being in a courtroom, and I was sitting on what I thought was my father's lap and watching a man screaming that I was his, and he was pointing at me. And I remember getting off of my father's lap and crawling underneath the bench and crying. And then in the car on the way home, I asked who that man was, and I was told that that was the bad man I was going to live with if I didn't behave. And I think I might have been 2, maybe a little bit older at that age.
Wow, okay. Do you, was it, what ended up happening with that? Did you find out who that man was, or is that
I
just a memory?
I found out that that was my mother's ex husband at the time, and he believed that he was my father, and that ended up being a big thing that I didn't figure out until I was an adult, actually, of who my father was. I
Okay,
was raised by a man that was my stepfather, um, and I was told that he was not my stepfather when I was 21 years old.
okay, okay. What was it like to be you as a child in your household? What did that look like and feel like?
My childhood, I was the oldest of 6. And now being able to look back and realize how much differently I was treated because I was a stepchild, and also because I was the very boisterous one. I was the one that wanted to protect everyone. I thought that I had to protect my siblings, so I got physically abused quite often. Um, it was just about a daily thing, but the sexual abuse is the one that really did a lot of damage. I can remember, I don't know if it was the first time, but I can remember a sexual abuse that happened at 3 years old. And after that, my world kind of seemed like it was more of a horror movie than it was a childhood. You know, some kids want to believe that they're princesses, or they make believe that, you know, they're all these different beautiful things, and mine was actually, it was a horror film.
Yeah. Was it both of your parents that were abusing you? Was it one of them?
um Now that I've had so many memories that have come back, it was a sex trafficking. By at least my stepfather knew all of that, and my mother did nothing to stop it. I have been told by people that were around when I was young that I was kind of set up next to the coffee pot and was used for whoever wanted that after they got done with their day of work. So it was a lot to try to handle when it finally started coming to me in my healing. When I was a child, I was dissociated so much. I don't remember a lot of my childhood, like the good parts and stuff. I don't remember a whole lot of that, but I do have what you would think were nightmares, but they're really not.
So they were monetizing, making money off of people
Yes,
coming in to have sex with a child.
yes.
Okay, okay. Um, wow. So when did you, I mean, the thing about this, I think, when we're looking our childhood is that we don't know any better, right?
Yeah.
Because things just are so normalized. No matter how horrendous they are, we still don't know
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
times.
I didn't realize just how messed up the things that I grew up with were until I got old enough to have my own children, and my own daughter started coming of those ages, and I'm like, wow, the things that my parents allowed were way out of this world, even more than what I had realized to begin with. You know, having my children is what really set this in motion, and of realizing just how much I needed to change.
Yeah. Tell me about, like, so how does a child grow up in this environment? Do you just stay disassociated the whole time? How do you function? How did you function? How did you go to school? Like all of that.
Yeah. um, I was diagnosed with complex PTSD a couple of years ago, and according to my therapist, she believes that I've had it since a very young age. And as much as that is a hindrance to me now as an adult, I believe that it really saved me as a child. The ability of our brain to just dissociate and protect us is amazing. And my ability to want to protect my siblings from having this happen to them, I think is what really pushed me to keep going. Um, Child Protective Services were called so many different times, um, and nothing was done. But Child Protective Services was so much different back then, you know, and they've gotten so much better. And I'm hoping that the things that they do now are going to protect children that are growing up like I had to. But I firmly believe that the thing that saved me was my PTSD, and the fact that I believed that I was responsible for my siblings from such a young age.
Shoot, how did you keep them safe? What did you do?
I I um I was the one that wanted to take it for them. I would take any of the pain for them, and I think that it helped that I was the stepchild, so I was already the beacon there. So it was in my mind that if they were safe, then it was okay. What was happening was worth it if I was the only one that was dealing with it. Not to say that they didn't have trauma, obviously, just growing up in that home and seeing everything, but protecting them really saved me.
Yeah. Thank you for explaining all of that too and explaining like the rationale, right? And like what our brains know to do in order
Yeah.
to keep us living and keep us surviving in an environment that is really awful,
Yeah.
you know?
I
And
know
I
that
just
everyone talks about the negative parts of PTSD, but if you really look at it from your brain is really trying to protect you, it does absolutely make sense. And I owe so much to my PTSD, as weird as that sounds, as weird as it sounds.
no, say more about that. Tell me what you owe to it.
I have so many things that I have found are actually good, and they're from my PTSD. You know, we're constantly in that fight or flight mode, you know, and although it does do so much damage to your bodies, I have found in my own personal experience growing up the way that I did, I ended up in relationships that were not right because I was so used to that being the normal. I was used to chaos. I was used to not getting what I deserved. And my PTSD kept me on that high alert for anything that's going to happen. So I was always very snap judgment of, okay, this is what I have to do to protect myself. I was I still am very able to shut my feelings off. That's not always a good thing. I understand that. We need to be able to work with those, but in a moment where it's a huge thing, it comes in so helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for saying that. Like, I really feel that that needs to be understood and said more, and so that people, women, don't feel such shame around having CPTSD as
Yes.
well. Is like
Yes.
it is in its own way. It's useful and it's a superpower when used to keep yourself safe.
Oh, absolutely. There are so many things that have happened in my adult life that I can look back on now and say, wow, my PTSD like stepped up there, and it took a hold and handled it until I could come back to being myself and say, okay, well, I don't need to be in fight or flight right now. Let's pick this apart and figure out what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. June, do you remember any kind of affection from your parents at all, or was that completely gone? Did you get any hugs, any love, any holding?
Um, I did. With my stepfather, it was more of a love bombing thing. After he had gotten done beating me or whatever he was doing, he would come and tell me that I was his favorite and that he didn't mean to do the things that he did to me. My mother, on the other hand, she did have moments of being affectionate, but I truly believe that she had her own mental health stuff that she was going through, and she was not able to protect and give the love that was needed.
Tell me about moving into like adolescence, teenage years. Like, um, when did you start to realize, or did you tell anyone, or, did you try to get help? What happened in that stage?
Um, right after I had turned 16, um, I had told a friend of mine what happened, and we spoke to her mother. And her mother came and took me from the house. I ran away. I stayed with them for 3 or 4 months. And when I went to school one day, my next oldest sibling told me that things were getting really bad at home. My mother had tried to commit suicide again. She did that quite often when we were children. Um, and so I went back home. I I felt like I had been raised to the point that my siblings were like my children. And knowing how badly it was going at home, I needed to go back. Um, I hardly finished high school. I actually graduated a year early by the skin of my teeth to try to get out of there. And I missed a lot of days of school because after I turned adolescence, my parents would take off for weeks at a time and just leave me with my 5 siblings. So I missed a lot of school. Um, I didn't really do the childhood stuff that you're supposed to do. I mean, I had my friends in school. I don't know how, but I was a very friendly, outgoing, got along with everyone type person, even with everything going on at home. And when I tell people my story now, even bits and pieces of it, they just can't believe it because I didn't show it. But like you said before, children that are raised in that, we learn how to deal. We really do. That resilience that we get is out of this world.
It is out of this world.
Yeah.
It is. Um, yeah, and I can feel that about you as I'm speaking to you. You just have this, like, I mean, I feel it when I speak to you. You have this sense of, like, just optimism and, like,
Thank
there's
you.
there's a feeling of just yeah, being comfortable talking with you. You're just very, like, easy
Right. I've
to
heard
be
that
with.
before. But
You
thank you
have,
so much. I love hearing that. I love hearing it.
yeah, you're really easy to be with. Um, so you tried to get out, um, but you felt this responsibility to your siblings. Um, how did you eventually get out? And it sounds like um, you basically were there. You were the parent,
Yeah.
so your mother was not able to emotionally,
No.
like,
No.
okay,
I've tried finding out what her past is before because, when you know the history, maybe you can find some empathy and maybe you can find those similarities, but I don't know what her story is, but with my own feelings and the things that I've gone through, I can kind of see some in her and it makes me feel sorry for her. But I ended up having I ended up getting a boyfriend at 17 and he was absolutely amazing. Um and then him and I fought for custody of my siblings when I was 19. I got full custody of all 5 of my siblings. And after that, my parents divorced. And my mother moved out of state, and when she got custody of the kids, they all moved.
Okay. They all moved together and you were on your own.
Yeah.
Say a little bit more about that process for you. I just don't, I can't imagine what that was
The
like for you.
process, the relationship between myself and all of my siblings has been very hard, because I feel so responsible for them. They're like my children, and I shouldn't have children that are, only 3 years younger than me. So any mistake that they have made, anything that they do in their lives, I, as a parent, feel that it's my fault. And from the way of not actually being the parent, but the one that raised them, some of their decisions to still speak to our parents and to basically want that relationship over the relationship with me is very, very hard in my adult life.
Yeah. Yeah. Why do you think that is, June? Why do they pursue that relationship with them?
I've asked myself that question so many times, and I've even asked some of them that question so many times. And I just don't know if they can step out of the comfort of what they've known their whole life. I think that they are so used to it, and that bond between a parent and a child is so strong no matter what they've done. So many people are more forgiving than I am. And I don't know if maybe I protected them so much that they don't fully believe what I say, or I think they just want that love that we never really got, and they're still going to chase it. And I have that hole too, but it's more peaceful for me to have the hole than to try to fill it with somebody that's never going to change.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really well said.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Yeah. How does someone who has grown up in this environment navigate relationships after that? You're not in the environment anymore with them, but then how do you how do you do interpersonal relationships? How do you do romantic relationships? Like what happened for you?
It's so difficult. That's the biggest part of having PTSD as an adult. This is the negative part of it, is trying to find the relationships that you can trust, find the real you underneath that trauma, and know that somebody is going to accept it no matter what. That you are worthy of love no matter what might be going on in your mind. That inner critic that you have is not talking about everyone that you're ever going to meet. Those things that my parents said to me and those abusers said to me as a child, they still are little voices in my mind. I can still hear them sometimes, and they are mean. And when you're trying to meet new people or start a new relationship, I don't know about other women, but I have this savior complex. I think that anyone that needs to be saved, I'm going to save you. And then it turns into a romantic relationship of me trying to take care of somebody else. And that's not the way that it's supposed to be. But the people that I respect and the people that don't need the help, I feel like I've always felt like I was never good enough for them. They're going to see something wrong in me. It's just, I'm too much.
Okay. So you're too broken to deal with people who are not healthy or that are healthy.
Yeah.
That don't need that from you.
Yeah. The ones that are not homeless, or the ones that are not without a job, the ones that have addiction problems, those are the ones that I found myself getting into relationships with, and it's caused so many issues for me as an adult, and therefore caused so many issues for my children.
June, and you don't have to do this, but I wonder if you could tell me a little bit about some of the things that were said to you about yourself by your abusers, the voices that you mentioned that you can still hear, what are some of those echoes?
The one that my stepfather would tell me the most was that I was not a very smart woman, and that didn't matter because I had looks on my side, and that's all I needed because I was to grow up to be someone that uses my body to get what I needed in the world. I had nothing more to offer. Um, I would be told that I was meant to be barefoot and pregnant, and I was to take care of children. Um, Men didn't like women that are strong. Men didn't like women that have a voice. Men didn't like women that didn't know how to shut up. And I have fought against that my entire life.
Yeah. Yeah. So did you find yourself like then getting into these relationships that were mirroring abuse that happened
Yes.
in childhood? Okay.
Yes. I really thought that all I had was my looks and my body to get through. And I felt like if I was getting validation in those, that it was enough. So these men that are inappropriate and, do their sexual catcalls were the men that I thought that's what I deserved.
That's
And it got me into relationships that were um, very chaotic. I had an ex that set fire to my house. I've had exes that were found to be abusive towards children. We seem to repeat that pattern until we figure out that it was wrong and understand why we did it and understand that we do deserve more. I think that's the biggest part that has been for me is knowing that I deserved more.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. That's something that comes up so much in my practice with women, and I think even personally, like I just think there's something about understanding that you deserve better, that there is better, um, that you aren't nothing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I remember my first therapy appointment, and my therapist had asked me what it was that I liked about myself, and I could not name a single thing. Not a single thing. And that's a really big smack in the face of, wow, you can't find one thing that you like about yourself?
Yeah, yeah. Well, of course, right? Like if the world outside of you is basically always said there is nothing.
Yeah.
And you are here just to serve other people.
You absolutely believe it. You absolutely believe it.
Yeah. June, how did you get to the point where you started to make this transformation? Because I know you've made a huge transformation and you've done so much healing. Like, how did you actually get to the point of realizing, like, I can, or I can change this, or something here can change? What did you do? What were those moments?
Well, I was a manager for a home for individuals with mental disabilities. It was my dream job. It's what I had wanted to do my entire life. And one morning, I woke up and I couldn't move my legs. And with a lot of testing and stuff, they found out that I have MS and I needed to stop working. It was completely like overnight. I lost everything that I had worked for. And one of the ways that I had found of surviving and keeping my mind somewhat able to live was work. Work so much that you have no time to think about anything, right? That bridge on burnout was like my amazing place of if I can't lay down and immediately pass out, I didn't do enough. So having that taken away from you overnight, it sent me into a spiral of really bad depression. I was dissociating for weeks at a time, and I turn into a person that I don't like when I'm dissociated. I have no emotions. am a robot basically going through the motions. And after my daughter turned 10 and started wanting to have those mother-daughter relationship type talks, and finding out that I had none of the resources to do that. I had absolutely no idea how to sit and talk to somebody about their emotions, about rough times, about, those normal things that 10-year-old to 12-year-old girls are going through. I could not relate. So I started doing therapy, and a couple of weeks in, she had me do a questionnaire. And after that questionnaire, she said, well, this has diagnosed you as having complex PTSD. I had no idea what that was. When I heard PTSD, all I think of are veterans that have been to
Yeah.
war, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, no way. I must be depressive. That's what everybody's always said. I have major depression. Well, after my first therapy appointment, I dove into research. I found any credible resource that I could to read up on complex PTSD. And it was like this moment of saying, I am not crazy. This is what's going on. And after that, I my therapy was up to 3 times a week, an hour every time. I was spending every waking moment that I could doing research, trying to figure out how to help myself. I started a group on Facebook where I would start talking very openly and raw about all the things that I had gone through, or what I was going through, or my brain was having a really bad day. This is what it's saying. And that voice that kept telling me nobody cares what you have to say was the one that's really bothering me. It still does. It still nags me. And it seems like anything that I'm trying to do to be boisterous, to try to step out of what my parents thought was okay, is like jumping off a cliff every time. I have to stand there and get up every amount of courage and say, I don't know what's going to be on the other side, but it's got to be better than what I'm doing now, and I'm going to jump. So it's it's scary every time, but every time I'm learning more, and I'm learning more about the person that I was supposed to be underneath what everyone else was telling me I had to be.
I love that. I love this. And I think you're speaking, I mean, I feel it myself, so I know that there are other women out there who are like, thank you, June. And like that you defy that voice that says you're nothing. Like get off of this podium, and you're
Yeah.
like, no, I'm gonna stand here and I'm gonna talk.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the voices that I've carried with me since childhood is be quiet. Don't tell anyone anything. And that's like my biggest purpose now. I know that before I was diagnosed and before I started speaking out, I thought I was the only person that had gone through stuff like this. And that's absolutely not true. Everything that I have been through, there's somebody that's going to be able to relate to each and every part of it. The more that I talk, the more that I'm finding more of these people. And helping them is helping me.
Absolutely, it totally does.
Yes.
It's this reciprocal relationship that's so powerful.
It really
Yes.
is. It really is. And the more that the group of people that I am finding, the more courage I'm having when I get to that cliff, saying, okay, there's got to be one more woman down there. We're going to jump and find her. And it's amazing to be able to have that power in yourself, and the confidence does grow.
We're gonna jump and we're gonna find her. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like, just to know there's someone out there looking for us, right?
There's so many of us looking for each other. There
Yeah.
really is. We need each other, and that's when I was a child and growing up and all of that, I really thought I had to only depend on me. And being voiceful and speaking out and just being so true, I'm finding those other people, women, other even men all together that are there with me, and they're like, yeah, we need this too.
Yeah. June, what would you say to the people who are because your story, it starts very early in childhood, and I think when it comes to abuse, there's like this it's not like there's not a competition, but it's a comparison of like that person had it worse. Like I really don't have anything to say. Like I can't come forward and say like this is me too. Um, what do you say to those women? Because that comes up a lot, like where women will say, you know what, no one touched me, but I just have been told that I'm nothing.
That is just it. I don't like to compare my story to anyone because there are people that can relate to every little bit and piece of it. And people are so different. People are going to handle these things different. Are you way more empathetic? That stuff is going to hurt you more than it's going to hurt, say, me when I'm dissociated and have no emotions. So those women can absorb more of that and take that with them. Whereas I've been through this my entire life, and as sad as it is to say, I've gotten used to it. I've got that hard skin. But some women, and thankfully they don't have that hard skin. Please don't have the hard skin if you can help it, because we need those gentle women. We need those women that have been through something and they say, okay, this is what I've gone through. I know there are other people that have gone through this and I'm gonna help them. And your trauma is no different than mine. It hurts us the same. Our trauma is what is in ourselves, not what happened to us. And it's going to affect us all the same. We're all going to feel like we need love and we need to be accepted, no matter what the trauma.
Yes, it's like a basic human need. It's a basic human need,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, we're humans. Humans need each other. We really do. And it took me a long time to figure out that I did need other people. Being independent and being so stubborn and wanting all responsibilities on me, I thought were my superpower. But now that I can put them down and realize that it's not, I can accept my real superpower.
What are some of the lies that you ingested from your abuse that you now realize, oh, that's not true?
That I was always going to be too much for anyone to want to handle. That my looks are all that I have. That I need to take care of other people in order to have any type of value. Now I can turn it into, yeah, I can help where I feel in myself that I can. But outside of that, I don't need to prove to anyone that I deserve to be accepted now. I don't need to think about what other people are going to think about me when I open my mouth and say my truth. The people that are going to actually hear it will hear it, and they'll come and tell me if they need anything more or however they absorbed it. And the negativity just kind of goes away. When I first started this journey with my counseling, it was triggers all over the place. Everything was so hard. Everything looked so ugly. Everything has this film of trauma over it. And the more that I've gone through, the more that the sparkles come through. The good comes out even more easily now. It's not, I need to search out for the good part of this. It's just right there.
Like you have an amazing therapist. What were some of the things she did that have brought you to seeing those sparkles? Like what is her style? What is her magic?
Oh my goodness, my therapist is amazing. We first started with the PTSD treatment, which is just like the 9 step or the steps for AA and all of that. And the first step was self-care. And that is and always has been the hardest thing for me, is to take care of myself without feeling selfish. We would get to like step 3 and then have to go back to step 1 again. And it came to the point that she learned that we had to do it completely different. We have to do this a completely different way because my trauma is so intensive and it started so early that not every treatment is going to work perfectly for one person. And she was able to mold it differently. And the more that we got to know each other and the more that she got to know of my story, the more that we could switch it. She knew that one of my biggest problems was being a hypocrite, which is part of why I started my Facebook channel, is because if I'm telling other people, you gotta take care of yourself, you have to make sure that you're eating, you have to make sure that you're taking time for you. If I'm telling other people to do it, I will do it because I don't want to be a hypocrite. Just those little tiny things that she figured out that were customized just for me. And it worked so much better.
It's like she was really like sifting out, like, this is who you are, this is who you are.
Yes,
Right.
yes. When I first
Yeah.
started my therapy, I was actually so afraid of losing my ability to dissociate. Like, my dissociation was my safe place. There was no emotions there. I didn't have to feel anything. It felt good at that time. But when you're in that, you're not noticing the happy, you're not feeling loved, you're not feeling that acceptedness. And she kind of made me realize how much better it is, even with the little ugly parts that can still happen, how much better it is to have those emotions. Because it took so long just to learn what was underneath my anger, for example. Underneath that anger was so much rejection and shame and just felt ugly. But I had every right to be angry, and I just needed to know the real parts that were anger and the real parts that were my shame that didn't belong to me. They were placed on me from everyone else, and they weren't mine to carry. And that's still the biggest one that I have problems with. That shame can still creep in there and start doing this little wormhole in my brain, and if you let it for too long, it can really put you in the pit of dissociation.
Yeah.
But the more that I've been finding what these real emotions are, and the more that I can backtrack my way into saying, okay, this is the moment that came from. This is what was said to me that time. How can I fight that person now? How can I fight that voice now? Saying you're not good enough. Okay, well, I've done this and this and this that proved that I'm good enough for me. That's all that I need. And you can start having that battle with those, and they get quieter.
But you've got to start speaking up to them.
Yes, yes. The more that I tried to hide them away, the more that I tried smushing them down, the more that I tried to prove myself, it was just exhausting me. It wasn't making them quieter.
I think what you're saying about like these voices that come at you, like this shame that's given to you, and how it is, it's like people. I always use this analogy with my clients sometimes. It's like people are handing you this platter of poop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of shit, right?
Absolutely.
Please, here you go. Like, they're putting it on its silver platter. You can take this. This is yours, right? So I don't have to take it. And maybe they make it look all pretty, but it's just shit.
Yeah. And then when you realize that it was their shit that they're trying to put on you because they don't want to be accountable for it, it opens it up even more. I realized that a lot of the nasty things that people say to each other are their own insecurities. They're problems that they have in themselves. It normally doesn't have anything to do with you.
Yeah.
And when I can give that back to the people that said it to me, it's a relief.
I love the idea of handing someone back the platter.
Yeah.
You can
just in your mind just visualize handing them that platter back and say, this was never mine. Take that back.
Yes. And I love too that you have allowed yourself the anger too. That's such a thing, for women, right? Like, and even for me as a therapist and all that I know, still the anger issue of like, I can't be an angry person. No, I don't want to be an angry person.
Yeah, and that adds to that shame even more, doesn't it?
Yes, it
Like, we don't
does.
give ourselves that permission to be just angry when that's our body's sign of saying, I love myself and I am allowed to stand up for who I am.
Um, yeah, do you feel like that's anger's purpose? If
I
it were to
truly
have a
do.
purpose?
I truly do. I believe that the anger is the part that actually loves you, that loves those that are in your circle, and when that comes out, that's your brain and your body saying, I have every right to stand up for myself, and you have no right to be doing what you're doing to me.
I love that. I'm picturing that, like, I don't know if you've seen Inside Out, but those little
Yes.
characters inside, right?
Yeah.
And that little anger character speaking up for Riley, like he loves her, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And we were always, at least in my case and those that had their trauma start very early, we were always told that we had no right to do that. I had no right to stand up for my body. I had no right to say, you are not allowed to touch my body. And that followed me into quite a bit of my adulthood. It had many experiences where I didn't really want to do anything, but I did not feel I had the ability to say no.
Yeah, yeah. That no gets like
It's
I don't
caught right
know.
in your throat, and
Yeah.
it's just, do I have the right to say that? And no woman should ever have to ask herself that. You
Mm.
always have that right.
Even if you maybe like too much,
Absolutely. Don't
it's
ever let
okay.
anyone tell you you're too much. I will be too much all day long. Because it makes me happy, and it makes my children happy, and it makes the people that I'm helping happy, and that's good enough for me.
So tell me about this person that you uncovered with your therapist and this real you. Like, what have you found out
Oh
about?
my goodness.
Yeah.
This real me is, she's so brave. She is so boisterous, and just the things that I would have never thought as a child or as a teenager, as a young adult, the things that I speak about now without a single second thought is amazing. Even talking about a part of my childhood, of the trauma or of the sexual abuse, used to throw me into such a whirlwind of, I'd be crying, I'd be so upset. And now I feel a power in it. I can proudly say, this is what I've been through. I made it out. I am doing so much better for myself. I'm trying to help other women. I'm trying to help other children now. And that, I can't say it makes it worth it, but it seems like it gives it a purpose.
Yes. Absolutely. It's using like what happened, not making your complete identity, but also saying, and this is how I actually serve
Yes.
instead of how you were taught you should serve,
Yes,
right?
yes. I was raised to be that quiet person that just did what she was told, and now I'm such a boisterous, you're not going to tell me what to do type of person. And it's such a big change, and I can now look back on who I was and realize how much she went through and be proud of it, instead of, I'm going to shove you in the closet so no one ever sees you.
Yeah, yeah. You're not allowed out. You're too shameful.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
You are full of shame, you are full of hate, I don't even want to look at you. I'm so ashamed.
Mm.
And now I can see her as a completely different person.
I love that image of pulling that part of yourself out of the closet
Yeah.
and being with her and letting her be in your life.
It's such a freeing experience knowing that there's nothing in my closet anymore. I have nothing to hide. I'm a completely free person. Any questions that anyone wants to ask me, I am willing to do that. And it's taking accountability for myself too. I know that I've made mistakes. I know that my trauma has led me to do things in my adult life that somebody that had never been through the things that I have been through could look at me and say, wow, what is wrong with you? But I can now look back at them with grace and say, I understand why you did, and I can forgive myself.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean we do these things, right, to
Yep,
keep ourselves safe, to keep ourselves alive. Like,
absolutely.
uh, absolutely, absolutely, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's been a wonderful experience. It was very hard to get here. I mean, healing is nowhere near a straight line. It's a roller coaster like they have not come up with in real life. But it's so worth it because even though it is still a roller coaster for me sometimes, it's such a smooth ride in between. And that when those twists in the corners do come, I have that logical part of my mind now that can say, okay, this is how we can fight it. Let's pull that voice out, and what do we have to answer with that?
yeah,
So
yeah.
those turns and the curves and the craziness don't last anywhere near as long. They're not anywhere near as intense as they used to be, and it's just you can still see the light at the end of the tunnel even with those curves.
You know, it's not going to last forever. I'm just at a curve right
Absolutely.
now.
Absolutely.
Tell me about your journey to help other people. What are you doing now? You mentioned your Facebook group, and I'd love to know more about this.
Yes, I started a Facebook group a year and a half ago, and that has grown into a YouTube channel. And I have gone and spoke at a couple of different schools to the school boards about some of the trauma that some of the children might be going through that are in their schools, so that we can get mental health awareness, mental health more resources available to the younger generations. Um, I have finished my first novel. It is getting ready for editing and it's book cover now. And I am starting on that follow up novel. So I've been very busy trying to um, just make sure that other people don't feel alone if they're going through this.
Yeah. Do you have any like special words or loving messages that you want to send out to any of those women out there or children out there?
I want them to know that you are okay with keeping grace for yourself. You need to give yourself the same grace that you're giving to everyone else that you're taking care of. Because I guarantee almost every woman that's listening to this is taking care of other people more than she is herself. But you do deserve it. And I had heard the reminder when I was a child of, put on your air mask before you do it to other people. And that was used as a manipulation to me when I was a child, but now I'm realizing it in a healthy way of you need to be able to take care of yourself so that you can give that amazing part of your overfilled cup to other people.
So that the real you can exist in the
Yes.
world and give that world the gifts that you do have that you were given.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That autopilot that you're on is not the real you. And the amazing, beautiful, wonderful you is right there.
Mm, yeah. June, what is the name of your book?
My book is called The Birth of an Advocate.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's surrounding the mythical Medusa, and she kind of has the life that I had and other stories that I've heard, and it's encompassing her story as well to try to show what goes on really in our minds every day trying to navigate this thing called life when you have that much trauma.
When does it come out?
It's supposed to be coming out this fall.
This fall. Okay.
This fall.
Um, yes. And one of the things I want to make sure of when this recording goes out and becomes live on the podcast is that people can find you
Yes.
and be able to, yeah, just be in your loving gifts.
I
in
would
your
love that.
presence.
I welcome everyone. I firmly believe the more we can come together and heal each other, it's going to be amazing for everyone.
Amazing what we could do. Amazing to be in a place where you feel like you belong.
Absolutely. Yes, that's the biggest thing. Once I felt like I belonged somewheres, it was the biggest relief ever.
Yeah, yeah. June, is there anything else that you want to add to this recording that you feel like, you know what, I just want to make sure this gets out. These are my, I want these to be my closing words.
My closing, I think, would have to do with learn as much as you can about yourself. Learn what you enjoy, what you love, what is important to you, what your value system is, and then find those people that connect with that. Not those people that want something from you, not those people that you need to prove your worth to. Really find your values and find those from there.
Thank you so much, June.
You are welcome.
Recording stopped.